is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
And this business, and I'm talking about coaching, part of it is about relationships. And can you make relationships? And can you make connections? And the connections sometimes come on a good level. Sometimes they come in a disciplinary form, but there is a connection. There is a level of respect. You know what I'm saying? And I think a coach has to be able to do it in multiple ways. He has to be able to be a friend at times. He has to be able to be a hard ass at times. But because you command respect, neither one that you exercise crosses any boundaries, because you know how to get to reach that person in different forms and fashion. And so Joe Philbin struggled with human beings. He constantly was in the personnel department saying, get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy. I can't coach this guy. And people were jettisoned along the way. And it's because he had a flaw in his character as a human being. He wasn't able to connect with people that maybe had strong characters. Instead of finding a way to reach those people that have strong character. See, Eric Spoelstra does a marvelous job of reaching different kinds of players, different kinds of human beings. And when he does that by psychologically figuring out how I'm going to reach this guy. I'm going to reach this guy being a dick. I'm going to reach this guy being a nice guy. I'm going to reach this guy intellectually. I'm going to reach this guy by using his experience. You know, he'll find different angles. And very few times he has issues with players. You never see it. If there's an issue with a player, it's because the player has an issue, right? It's because Whiteside is Whiteside and you can't do anything about it. And KZ Okpala is not Whiteside in the character sense, but he is a player that you can't reach athletically anymore because you tried, and you can't. And so it just takes its course. So, and this has gone on in the past with different coaches. Adam Gase had a problem with people. He did not get along with people, not everybody. He alienated people. He alienated coaches. He alienated people in the front office. He alienated sometimes ownership. He alienated his players. I mean, it was one of those things. I mean, he started social distancing before social distancing actually became a thing. And so we're watching with Flo. We're watching the constant changes of the offensive coordinators, the manipulation of creating that three-headed monster, which allows him to also kind of dominate and control the situation. The O-line coaches, the consistency of changing O-line coaches year in and year out. The difficulty of dealing with players from Kenny Stills and trying to show him up with the Jay-Z music after everything else. We look at Minka Bitch, and while I'm not a big fan of Minka whining, and I'm really not a big fan of his mom getting into the whole thing, I kind of find it weak when your parents are involved in whatever your business is publicly. You know what I'm saying? But still, he's happy in Pittsburgh, right? Because why? Because Mike Tomlin can reach Antonio Brown for a certain amount of time, and he can reach Le'Veon Bell for a certain amount of time, and he can reach different players, including Minka. I mean, he's dealt with people that are much more difficult to deal with than Minka. And because Mike Tomlin understands, just like Eric Spoelstra, in order to succeed, dude, I got to deal with different people. If I'm Bill Parcells, it's great to have, Mark Bavaro, who's going to sell out for me, but I do need Lawrence Phillips, no matter how much cocaine, no matter how much, stupid things he does off the field or gets arrested, I got to find a way to reach the man and get him on the field to play football for me. You know what I mean? And sure, he can have Harry Carson on his team, but Harry Carson is an impeccable individual. So it's easy for him to coach Harry Carson. It's a little harder for him to coach, Lawrence Taylor. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to have all kinds of different personalities that you've got to work through. Shula did not get along with everybody, but Shula had everybody's respect because you hear it from all these guys. No matter how much they say the old man ripped into him, this, that, or whatever, they run through walls for the guy because you have to be able to learn to manage people in different ways and reach them on different plateaus and communicate with them on different plateaus. It cannot be my way and the highway. In a way, sometimes it is my way or the highway, but you design it differently for people because you reach them differently, and then they end up doing it your way. But you have to meet people halfway. Brian Flores has failed to meet his coaches halfway. He has failed to meet his players halfway. And when we talk about Minka, when we talk about Van Noy, when we talk about Karras, when we talk about Stills, when we talk about Flowers, okay, a player that he probably didn't think was good enough and that he thought his younger players were better, and he paid the price. And the other guy, too, that I can't pronounce his name also. Emmanuel Impure, whatever, I don't know, whatever the guy's name is, who's contributing somewhere else also. And these are things that he's been given a lot of power and a lot of influence in the process. And then most of all, he showed us this one time around, and now he's showing it to us again. The first time around, Brian Flores was right. The second time around, Brian Flores is wrong. And the first time around, he gave up on Josh Rosen immediately. Okay? And you could tell. We saw it. Well, guess what? He's given up on Tua. That guy hates Tua. It's obvious that he hates Tua. Okay? It's obvious he doesn't believe in Tua. He knew Tua could play last week. But yet, he went with Brissett because he still thinks he can win with Brissett. And in the middle of that game, he finally decided his hard-headed approach that he had to make a change. And he stayed with Tua. And Brissett was coming in knowing that he has his coach in the corner. And then he was stopped. No, we're going to stay with Tua. And it paid off. And who knows? Maybe, in a way, if Tua fails, he's like, see, this is why I got to go back to Brissett. He wasn't healthy enough. But he succeeded. Hell, with a broken finger, he threw you a 35-yard bomb. You know? But he can't throw deep, of course. Of course. He just, he can only throw 5 yards. And he has one of the things that Brian Flores, because of his way, the highway type of thing, and I'm now starting to believe, okay, I don't have any proof of this, but I'm starting to believe he didn't want Tua. I'm starting to believe everybody else wanted Tua. And he's the only one that's going against the grain. And he's the one that's creating a problem. And he's the one that's helped kill the value of Tua. And maybe that's what he was trying to do last week. Yeah, I'll throw him out there. He'll fail with the broken finger. People will see. And, whatever. And he ends up winning. And he has done a disservice to his quarterback. And this is a guy you drafted number 5 overall. That clearly everybody agreed on this. Except him, probably. Because that's what it looks like. If it's his player and his pick, he'll play the guy. He'll fight for the guy. If he believes in the guy, he's going to fight for the guy like he did for X. And look at the way X has rewarded him this year. Played like dog shit. He has played like complete dog crap the entire year. He's made a couple of plays, And some of you blind ass Doll fans fall for it like if that's some big deal. And he has been a severe disappointment this year. And you know that when the season ends, all he's been doing, some of you, you're naive, you don't figure it out, but he's just been making business decisions all the way through so he can start this crap all over again at the end of the year. So Brian has done a terrible job of handling human beings on this roster, whether it's coaching, whether it's players, whether it's the media. He looks like a complete buffoon out there on the podium. The same buffoon that was Matt Patricia and the same one that was Josh McDaniels. And why? Because he's doing the same thing they all did. He's turned into, I'm the smartest guy in the building. That's what he's turned into. And so nobody can tell him any different. And so he's doing whatever he wants, and he's running roughshod throughout the team. Again, this happened already before with Adam Gase. Philbin did not have the same kind of power. He was more of a gnat. He was like the Noid from Domino's, because he didn't really, he tried to influence personnel, and he did, by the way, by getting rid of several players, by telling him, hey, I can't coach him, and they got rid of him. But Gase and Flo were, while hired, were given the power and said, yes, you will have influence in this. You will be given power to have a say, especially on the 53-man roster. If you don't want a player, we will accommodate you. And the front office has accommodated them. Okay? Maybe to their dislike, they have accommodated him, I believe. That's just me. So we've seen all of this. And we've watched this story away from us with Matt Patricia. We've watched this away from us with Josh McDaniels, and we're watching it now in our backyard with Brian Flores.